Ever since I found out about her, I've been obsessed with the lore of the Tooth Fairy. I remember when I saw the movie Darkness Falls for the very first time. I was probably way too young to watch it because it scarred me, but that's what really sparked my obsession. It was a year ago, so I was 5 then and just about to lose my first tooth. Up until then, I couldn't wait for my tooth to fall out so that I could place it under my pillow and try to catch the Tooth Fairy, taking it away. But that movie scared the crap out of me. I remember being so afraid after watching it that I slept with my parents for an entire week. And then when my tooth finally did fall out, instead of being excited that I was going to get a whole dollar for it, I threw it in the trash. But after seeing my bloody tissue that I wrapped it in, my dad found it and put it under my pillow while I was asleep. When I woke up the next morning and got out of bed, I remember seeing part of a dollar bill sticking out from under my pillow. I thought it had to be some kind of a joke, until Dad told me what happened. Then he explained that despite what my older brother had told me, the movie wasn't real. He said that someone just made it to scare little kids. Well, it definitely worked. I was relieved to hear that it wasn't true, and that if I did happen to see the Tooth Fairy, that I wouldn't have to worry about being cursed. But then as I walked away, Dad whispered with a mischievous smile, "But I still wouldn't peek at her if I were you." Then I started looking it up one day and discovered that dating all the way back to 1908, there have been stories of people trying to get a glimpse of her and catch her in the act, but no one has ever been able to. At least, not without something bad happening. At first, my friends thought it was stupid, but with me always getting so worked up about the Tooth Fairy and then showing them all of the stuff that I found out about her, they finally started to get interested, and now we're all determined to find out if she really exists. I'm about to turn 7, and me and my friends have a ton of baby teeth left, so we have plenty of time to try to catch her. We've been trying to get a look at her for months now. Every few months, when one of us loses a tooth, we plan a sleepover at one of our houses. But nothing ever happens. No matter how late we try to stay up, we always get tired and end up falling asleep. And she's just so quiet that somehow she always manages to sneak right past us. And then the next morning, the tooth is gone and there's some money under the pillow. Some people say she must be invisible, and I'm starting to think that maybe she is. Because we've even attempted to try to catch her on video, but for some reason, the recording always goes fuzzy, the battery dies, or something happens where we can't catch her that way either. But no matter what, she always gets the tooth. So we finally realized that it's impossible to capture an image of her if we're in the same room that she is, because if she knows you're awake, then she won't come at all. One of my best friends, Jerome, just called me a little while ago and told me that his tooth that's been wiggly for weeks now has finally fallen out. And since it's the weekend, I asked my mom if I can invite my boys over for a sleepover at my house tonight. When I say my boys, I mean my 3 best friends, Jerome, Marcus, and Ty. The 4 of us have known each other since we were babies. Well, Marcus is my cousin, but I also consider him my friend. He's 8, so he's a whole year older than me, but despite our age difference, we've always been really close. I met Ty and Jerome when I moved from Brooklyn to Queens. The 3 of us are all 6, about to turn 7. We're all in the 2nd grade, and we all even live in the same neighborhood. Mom says that sure, they can stay the night. Marcus is already on his way over to hang out, so I call Ty and then Jerome to invite them over. While I'm waiting for everyone to arrive, I head to my big brother Darius's room because I have something that I need to ask him. "Yeah?" he shouts from inside, so I push open the already slightly ajar door and enter, then close it behind me. "I need a favor, and before you say no, just hear me out." Before I can continue, he looks up from his phone and interrupts. "First, I have one question. What's in it for me?" "I'll pay you." He shoves his cell phone into his pocket. "I'm listening. Let's talk business," he tells me, motioning toward his desk chair. So I sit down and continue. "I know you think it's stupid and you don't believe in it, but..." He cuts me off right there. "Not this again." "Listen, you don't even have to do anything. I already have a plan. We would just need to use your bedroom and recording booth tonight." "Hell no." "Please, Darius, come on. You didn't even let me finish." "There's no need to. Ain't no way I'm letting you and your stupid little friends touch any of my stuff." "I said I'd pay you." "Yeah, I heard you, but no. You can go now," he tells me as he gets up and opens his bedroom door. "Don't you even want to know how much?" "Nah, not really." "Are you sure? I know you've been saving up for that new video game you wanted." "Yeah, and I've only got $10 saved so far. So unless you plan on giving me the rest, which is $50, then no deal." $50, I think to myself. I mean, I think that price is a little high. And not only that, but $50 is all the money I have saved up. I was only planning on offering him 20. But as he begins to close the door right in my face, I slam my hand up against it and try to come to a compromise. "What about $30? And I'll do your chores for a whole week." He thinks about it for a second, but then shakes his head. Okay. How about 35 and I do your chores for a week then?" He grins and replies, "If you give me $40 and do my chores for a week, then we've got a deal. But I swear to God, if you or your stupid little friends touch any of my equipment, I'm going to kill you." "Deal. And that's another thing. I need you to move all of your stuff out of there because we're going to need all that space to camp out," I tell him as I smile and hold out my hand so that we can shake on it. He shoves it aside and instead says, "Oh, fine. Now go get my money, punk." Just as I start walking down the hallway to my room, the doorbell rings. Already knowing that it's probably one of my boys, I continue heading to my room and let my mom answer the door. When I get there, I close the door and pull out all of my money from my secret hiding place, beneath a loose floorboard under my bed. As I count out the $40 that I'm about to hand over to Darius, I start to feel a little sad. I worked hard saving up all this money. I spent the entire year mowing lawns, getting good grades, and doing chores. Plus there's even a few dollars from the Tooth Fairy in there too. My plan had originally been to spend it on my family for Christmas this year, but I guess that's not going to happen. I take out the money for Darius and put the rest safely back in its hiding place, then shove it into the pocket of my jeans just as Marcus comes strolling through the door. "Don't you know how to knock?" "My bad. What do you want to do?" "Cut on the PS4. I'll be right back. And oh yeah, Ty and Jerome are on their way over too. Jerome lost another tooth." "For real?" he asks eagerly. Out of all of my boys, he's the only one that always gets as excited as I do when it comes to this. For the others, it just seems more like it's something to do. "Do you think your mom will let you stay the night?" "I don't know, probably, but I'll go ask her now," he tells me as he goes speeding out of my room. That's when I leave to go give Darius his money. When I return, Marcus is just booting up the PlayStation. She said I can stay. We play the game for about 15 minutes before Jerome and Ty show up. Once everyone is in my room, I get ready to tell them the plan. "Did you bring the tooth?" I ask, looking over at Jerome. "Of course," he answers, as he reaches into his backpack and pulls out a Ziploc baggie. I walk over and cut off the PlayStation. "Hey, what'd you do that for?" Marcus complains. "Because everyone needs to listen. This is serious business. I have a plan, and this time it's foolproof. I just know it's gonna work." "You say that every time," Ty jokes. "No, for real. If this plan doesn't work, then I give up. I don't think we'll ever catch her. Now shut up and listen, big head. Tonight, Jerome is going to go to sleep in Darius's room, and he's gonna put his tooth under the pillow in there." "Oh man, come on. Why do I gotta be the one all by myself? That ain't no fun." "Because it's your tooth, that's why. The rest of us are gonna sleep in the recording booth." The three of them all give me a look, like, yeah, right. They all know how Darius is when it comes to his booth and his equipment. He's an aspiring rapper, although if you ask him, he swears he's the next Drake. Dad helped him build the booth last summer in his room. It took them like a month to finish it, but once they were done, it turned out pretty nice. It has a plexiglass window, but whenever the room is dark, it looks more like a mirror, so whoever is in the booth can see right through it, but if you're on the other side in the bedroom, you can't see anything unless the light in the booth is on. And the best part is that the door to get into the booth is out in the hallway. And those are all things that will help us catch a glimpse of the Tooth Fairy without her actually seeing us. Don't worry, Darius already said that it's cool, I tell them. Since when did he become so nice? Ty asks. He didn't. I had to beg him. Then he finally agreed when I said I'd pay him and do his chores for a week. So like I said, the rest of us are going to sleep in the booth. So what about Darius? What's he gonna be doing? Marcus questions. Just as I'm about to answer, suddenly I feel something wet in my right ear and it makes me jump. When I turn around, Darius is pulling his finger out and him and his two friends, Louis and Frankie, are cracking up with laughter. I guess we'll just have to sleep in your room. Hope I don't find any lotion and tissues or any skid mark underwear in there. Louis and Frankie bust out in uncontrollable laughter. Shut up, I shout, turning red with embarrassment. Then the three of them start walking down the hall as Darius raps about crusty underwear, further rubbing in the embarrassment that I already feel. Once they're gone, I close my door. Marcus walks over and puts his hand on my shoulder. Don't worry about him. He's just your everyday asshole big brother. Some of us are just lucky enough not to have one. Then me and the boys hang out playing video games in my room until dinner, when Mom orders pizza for everyone. After that, we watch a movie and then start setting up everything. We're gonna set up the camera to record through the window so that this time the Tooth Fairy doesn't see it. I just know it. This time we'll catch her on camera. Around 11, Jerome walks into Darius's room, slides his tooth beneath the pillow, and then he climbs into the bed. Just then, Darius kicks open the door, scaring us half to death. Hey, you better not piss in my bed, you little runt, or your ass is grass. And I better not find any drool stains on my sheets or pillows either. Then Louis chimes in. Yeah, you freaking mouth breather. Then the three of them chuckle as they walk down the hall, and once I hear my bedroom door slam shut, I turn off the light and close Darius's door. Then me, Ty, and Marcus walk into the booth. Just as we're sliding into our sleeping bags an hour later, the doorknob starts to twist, and then in walks Darius and his friends. He's carrying his sleeping bag under his arm. What are you doing here? You're in luck. We figured that it'd be more entertaining to watch you guys cry when you find out that the Tooth Fairy isn't real. Man, I can't believe you losers still think the Tooth Fairy's real, Frankie teases as he gestures for Ty to move over. Yeah, I found that out when I was like 3 and saw my mom taking my tooth while she thought I was asleep, Louis adds while he's laying out a blanket next to Marcus. I guess one baby step at a time. Tonight they'll find out that the Tooth Fairy doesn't exist, and next it'll be Santa, Darius says as he throws his sleeping bag down on the floor next to me and then gets inside. Don't you dare try to say that Santa ain't real. I got the presents to prove it, Ty scoffs. Darius and his friends giggle before we all jump when we hear a bang on the window. But it's just Jerome. I'm trying to sleep in here. I'm happy you guys are having so much fun. I'm bored to death. I probably ain't never gonna get no sleep, he mutters as he stomps back over to the bed. Then I get up to press the record button on the camera and turn off the light. After that, we just sit there whispering in the dark for a while because we want to stay quiet. Around 2 a.m., I text Jerome asking if he's still up. There's no reply or movement, so I assume he's gone to sleep, or maybe he's just ignoring us. Marcus is already sleeping, and Darius doesn't look like he's too far behind. By 3 a.m., everyone is asleep, and I start dozing off, but keep forcing myself back awake. Finally, I just sit all the way up, which is what I do when I'm really tired and start falling asleep during a boring movie. That usually keeps me awake. A little while later, Ty wakes back up. This is so boring. Nothing's happening. Then he gets up and tells me, I'm going to the bathroom. He quietly steps over everyone, and as he leaves the booth, I whisper, Don't turn on any lights. He lets out a sigh and closes the door. Once he's gone, I lean my head up against the wall. I'm starting to get so tired that even though I'm sitting up now, I still begin to doze off again. But then I hear something, a sound coming from Darius's room. At first, I think it must be Jerome. Maybe he got up to go to the bathroom too, or to get something. I can't see into the room because I'm sitting, so I stand, walk up to the plexiglass, and peer through it. That's when I see that the door to the bedroom is cracked open, just the tiniest bit. Then a moment later, as I continue to glance around, I see that Jerome is still in the bed, fast asleep, and there's a flash of light that zooms right past me. My heart starts to speed up, and my breath catches in my throat. I can't believe it. It's finally happening. I stare in disbelief and amazement as the flash of white light continues to move around the room at rapid speed. When it slows down, that's when I get a good look at her. She's itty-bitty, I'd say as small as a strawberry, and has see-through wings that are still fluttering as she hovers in the air right above the pillow. Her skin is so pale that she looks almost see-through, just like her wings. And her hair is black. It stretches down past her feet, longer than her whole body. She's wearing a little red dress that looks like cloth just wrapped around her, and hanging from her left shoulder is a bag, or should I say pouch, because it's so little. I think that must be where she puts the teeth. I'm not sure what she's doing. She's still just hovering there over the pillow, staring at Jerome as he sleeps. Not wanting to take my eyes off of her, but at the same time knowing that I need to wake up the guys to see this so that they don't miss the whole thing, I quietly step back over them and begin to shake them all awake. "Hey, she's here! The Tooth Fairy's here!" I whisper excitedly. They toss and turn a little before wiping the sleep from their eyes and standing up. Then they walk over to the plexiglass and peer through it. I wait anxiously to see their reactions, and as they stand there with their jaws hanging, staring in shock, disbelief, and awe, that's when I know that they can see her too. "I can't believe this shit," Darius whispers. "I can't believe she's real. I always thought that Mom was the Tooth Fairy." Jerome is going to be so mad that he missed this, but he can always watch the footage on the camera later, I think to myself. I know the only reason he agreed to sleep in Darius's room and not in the booth was because he thought tonight was going to be like all the others, where nothing ever happens. "You were right. I guess she is real," Lewis tells me as he pats me on the back. I can't even describe the feeling that's rushing through me right now. It feels so good to prove my brother and his friends wrong for once. As we stand there and continue to stare at her, mesmerized and in a trance, she flies a little lower and tucks her tiny body under the pillow, then comes back out with the tooth. She begins twisting it around in her hand, admiring it. "What's she doing?" Darius asks. "I don't know." Then she slowly raises the tooth to her mouth, opens it, and starts taking bites out of it with such ease that even though it's a hard tooth, it looks like she's eating something as soft as a slice of bread. Just then, Jerome starts to move around in the bed, and she starts shoving what's left of the tooth into her pouch. When suddenly, the light in the booth cuts on. We all turn our heads toward the door, surprised, and see Ty standing there holding a glass of water. I'd completely forgotten that he even left, and apparently the guys didn't notice he was gone either. "Turn off the light!" He stares at us with a stupid look on his face, not understanding what's going on. "Turn it off! She's going to see us!" Finally he listens, but as I turn around and stare through the plexiglass again, I realize that it's too late. She must have seen the light and got spooked because she's not right where she was before. She's gone. I put my face right up against the plexiglass, frantically searching for where she could have flown off to. Maybe she's hiding. Darius steps forward and places his hand on my shoulder. "Nah, I think she's gone. This fool ruined it for us all," he says, pointing at Ty. "My bad. How was I supposed to know?" he asks as he takes a sip of his water like this is all some kind of a joke. He didn't see her, so I know he probably doesn't believe us. But I know what I saw, and everybody else here saw it too, so I don't care what anyone says anymore. Now I know she's real. "Man, just turn the light back on. She's gone now," Lewis replies. Just as Ty flicks the switch, suddenly there's a loud thud. Marcus points to the window with his eyes wide and his whole face drained of color. "What the hell is that?" We all turn back around to find ourselves looking straight at the tooth fairy right up against the window. Now noticing every little detail, her black veins coursing through her almost translucent skin, she stares with wide eyes, and where the whites of her eyes should be, it's nothing but blackness with dilated red pupils. With her sharp, jagged teeth grinding against each other, matching her sharp, jagged nails to a T. And now that she's up close, I notice that the long, dark, beautiful hair and red dress I thought she had is actually dirty and grimy and matted to her like wet dog fur. I back up a little and place my hand over my chest, trying to calm my racing heart. The look of her just feels off to me. An overwhelming feeling comes over me, warning me that this is something that I was never supposed to see in the first place. This is not what the tooth fairy is supposed to look like. She's supposed to be pretty, not look like this. Look, I think she's smiling at us. Do you think she's happy that we saw her? Ty asks as he starts waving. Before I can even answer, she stares me right in the eyes and holds up one of her tiny fingers. Next, she flies over and looks at Ty, then holds up a second finger. What is she doing? Darius asks, confused. Then she flutters over to Lewis and sticks up a third finger. Just as she glides over a little more and stares through the window at Frankie and then holds up a fourth finger, I answer, I think she's counting. She continues down the line, holding up a fifth finger for Marcus. I don't like this. It's starting to weird me out. Then she moves on to her other hand and puts up a sixth finger for Darius. But why is she counting us? He questions in a worried tone. As we all stand there in silence, not really sure how to answer his question, suddenly her eyes get even wider, like she's just noticed something, and then her head slowly turns as she looks behind her, then back at us and holds up a seventh finger, as a big toothy grin covers her face, with her eyes closing at a slant from how big her smile unnaturally expands from ear to ear, giving me the feeling that she's been waiting a long time for this moment. I stare at her in confusion, then glance past her and see that Jerome is awake now, sitting up in the bed staring at her petrified. As she starts flying toward him, he begins screaming bloody murder, which in turn makes me scream, something's wrong. I think she's about to hurt him. We all go rushing out of the booth and bust into Darius's bedroom. As soon as I see him, tears start to stream from my eyes. His mouth is blown out. There's literally a huge hole that I can see straight through. It looks like a bomb was set off in there. His jaw is clearly dislocated, hanging from just a sliver of skin on one side, and most of his teeth are missing from his mouth. Some are strewn across the bed, others are all over the floor, and just a few are left lodged in the roof of his mouth with his eyes rolled back in his head. As I stare at all of the blood splattered everywhere, I suddenly see Marcus point toward the open bedroom window. We all look over and see her fluttering outside, holding up 7 fingers. She stares at her left hand and slowly lowers one finger as she glances at us with that same sharp-toothed, slanted-eyed grin. Then she flies off into the darkness. Darius whispers, Now I think I know why she was counting us. I answer, Yeah, me too. If she started off with 7 and put one finger down after killing Jerome, then that must mean us 6 that seen her are probably next. Don't forget to subscribe for new stories weekly. See you next time on
Nina's Nightmares.
Really? You're supposed to click the like button, not me. Ugh.